नमस्कार डुमानी लाइव को स्वागत करुछि मु दीप्ति एबे गोटे गुरुत्वपूर्ण खबर आसुछि नेपाल रो एवं गोटे विमान किबळी भाबे लैंड करबा पूर्वरु जळी जाईछि से चित्र एबे सामना को आसीछि एवं देखुथिबे ए जो चित्र कोठी ना कोठी गोटे हृदय विदारक चित्र एवं नेपाल रे जो भयंकर विमान दुर्घटना घटिछि एवं नेपाल राजधानी काठमांडू पोखरा जाउथिबा एक यात्रीवाही विमान दुर्घटनाग्रस्त होईछि। ए विमान रे पाखापाखि 72 जन यात्री थिले एवं 68 जन यात्री एवं 4 जन थिले क्रू मेंबर एवं दुर्घटनार शिकार होइतिबा विमानटी होउछि येती एयरलाइंस रो बोली जणा पड़िछि। पोखरा विमान बंदर जो रनवे अछि से रनवे रे जेतेबेले अवतरण करूतिला हठात किनी निया लागि जाइतिला एवं जहा येती एयरलाइंस रो जे गणमाध्यम को तांकर जने कर्मकर्ता जहा सूचना दैछंती एवं ए विषय में अधिक आलोचना करने आम सहित सीधा सख जोड़ी होती मनमथ राउतराय पायलट एयर इंडिया जे पायलट अच्छा सर डुमानी टीवी को आपन को स्वागत।
नमस्कार आज्ञा नमस्कार
सर ये जो दुखद खबर आज आसी जे नेपाल रे गोटे विमान जिते गोटे लैंड करने को जाऊला हठात कि विमान रे निया लगी जाइए कौन होई पारे बोली आपन भाबुचंती जने वरिष्ठ पायलट आपणकर अनेक अभिज्ञता अच्छी एवं कौन होई पारे आपन भाबुचंती।
मोर जो अजम्पशन अच्छी एयरपोर्ट गोटे इंटरनेशनल एयरपोर्ट किंतु एथरे प्रिसिजन लैंडिंग सिस्टम नहीं एटा गोटे पहाड़िया एरिया रनवे लेंथ काफी भल अच्छी बड़ जहाज माने अप टिल एयरबस 321 जाके लैंड कर परिबे तो ATR 72 पे एटा किछि बड़ कथा नुह ATR बहुत रिलायबल जहाज सेटा एयरपोर्ट इज क्वाइट इक्विप्ड किंतु खाली प्रिसिजन लैंडिंग नहीं शीत दिन फॉग बहुत रुहे अपन माने समस्त जानि विजिबिलिटी बहुत कमी जाए शीत दिन रे स्पेशली जनवरी मासटा डिसेंबर एंड जनवरी और फेब्रुआरी स्टार्टिंग हमारे इंडिया और नेपाल रे फॉग बहुत अधिक तो विजिबिलिटी थिला नथिला कौन तांकर जो अथॉरिटी अच्छी वेदर अथॉरिटी जो माने वेदर प्रोवाइड करती से एक्चुअल वेदर ठीक से देइचंदी कि तांको तरफ चूक होईची टेक्निकली एयरक्राफ्ट बहुत बहुत ही भलो बहुत रिलायबल तो सेते टेक्निकल किछि प्रॉब्लम होबो मते डाउट लाଗୁଛି तो मोस्ट प्रोबेबली यदि ह्यूमन एरर रहिला किंबा जो वेदर रिलेटेड जो भी थिला विजिबिलिटी जदी कम थिबो तांको देखा जायनी काने जहाज जदी लैंडिंग जाय पहुंच
सर आपण गोटे गुरुत्वपूर्ण कथा एटी उठैले जे जदी किछि ह्यूमन रा किछि जदी एरर थिबो देन पायलट रो कोन एरर थाई पारे बोली आपण भाबुचंती।
पायलट रो एरर एया थिबो जे से माने जो जाको तो विजिबिलिटी जो रिपोर्ट करा जायथिबो जे एयरफील्ड रे एया विजिबिलिटी अच्छी एने माने क्लियर अच्छी कि एतिकी विजिबिलिटी अच्छी टेक्निकली एतिकी विजिबिलिटी रहिले ही लैंडिंग करी हबो से जो वेदर टा जो विजिबिलिटी देइथिबे फिगर टा यदि से फिगर टा एक्चुअल कंडीशन न थिबो कि किए जे देइथिबो से रिपोर्टिंग भूल कर देइथिबो तो पायलट जेतले आस्ते ताको रनवे देखाई जाय नथिबो किंबा से अटेंड मारिथिबो जे मो टिके आउ टिके चेष्टा करछि ताको खराब वेदर रे जोटी लैंडिंग करिया कथा नुह पायलट भाबिथिबे जे नाही हां हेइ जिवो माने से जो हां हेइ जिवो एटीट्यूड टा जोटा हमर एसओपी रे मना करा जायछि जे आपन जदि रनवे न देखा गला कि एतिकी बाटरू न देखा गला आपन जदि अजम्पशन आपन कैलकुलेशन ठीक से बसुनी जे आपन गोटे सेफ लैंडिंग करि परिबे ताले आपन लैंडिंग को प्रोसीड करिवे ने आपन फेरी जिवे जोटू बाहर थिले तो जदि से सेटा को न कंसीडर करी चेष्टा करछन नाही मु टूरिस्ट को नै के अछि जा ले पहुंचेबी मोर माने कंपनी रो बिजनेस रिलेटेड कोन जे डिसीजन नै जाइतबे जोटा नबा कथा नो फ्लाइंग रे सदाले सेफ्टी आगो आउ किछि नाही तो जदि सेमती किछि डिसीजन बाय चांस नै जाइतबे ताले दुर्घटना हेतिबो किंबा टेक्निकली जोटा मु बाबूची ए जहाज ए जो कंपनी रो जहाज बहुत उड़ुची एटा बहुत रिलायबल जहाज तो टेक्निकली मु बाबूनी बेसिस किछि प्रॉब्लम हेई थाई पारे किंतु तांको कंपनी तांको मेंटेनेंस इंजीनियर जदि ठीक से काम करथिबे न करथिबे ए सब तथ्य तो आसीबो इनफैक्ट एटा मेजर
सर आ गुटे कथा एटा सब दर्शक मानकर मन मध्ये उठुथिबो जेतबेले प्लेन टी आपणकर टेक ऑफ करबा पर दिबा पूर्वरु तांकर जे चीफ इंजीनियर थिबे तार टेक्निक जांच करथिबे ए विमान टी ठीक उड़ान भलिया पय प्रस्तुत अछि ना नाही से तो जांच हेइथिबो तापरे जो इंसिडेंट होउछि तार कारण कोन जो कथा आपण गुटे गुरुत्वपूर्ण कोंतु
हां मेकानिकल पार्ट्स केतबेले फेल होबो कोन होबो तापे कि हमें जत्ते बही बने देले जत्ते मेंटेनेंस कले भी कोडना कोडी किछना रहि जाय कि 100% गारंटी देई परिबेनी जे सब दिन माने एक्जेक्टली काम करियो सही दिन सेति पे कि पायलट ट्रेन हेकी अछि जदि भी कोडी कोन असुविधा हला तार इमरजेंसी को केमिति हैंडल करिवो पायलट्स माने को बहुत भलरे ट्रेनिंग दिया जाय और ए वाला जगह रे जदि से पायलट्स को छड़ा जाई उड़ेया पे कि ATR 72 तामन सेवन जेमिति हेले एक्सपीरियंस लोक होइतबे एतरे मोर किछि डाउट नै मु जानि मोर एक्सपीरियंस मो 20 वर्ष एक्सपीरियंस मु जा कहू ସେମାନେ ଏକ୍ସପିରିଏନ୍ସ ଥିବେ।
सर आ गोटे कथा आपण जो कथाटा उठाउछन बा फॉग बा कुहुडी ए कुहुडी जो गोटे इंसिडेंट हेई थाई पारे बोली मते गोटे कुहा जाउची
मैक्सिमम इंसिडेंट्स आज्ञा देखंतु जेते बेले हमें फॉग की हो कि वेदर रिलेटेड हो थंडरस्टॉर्म्स होंतु साइक्लोन होंतु जो माने आकु माने नजरअंदाज करिसंती कि कैजुअल नै चंती सेडी एक्सीडेंट हेई आपण एबे जो लास्ट हेइतिला हमर जेते चीफ ऑफ डिफेंस स्टाफ चली जाइतिले
आज्ञा सेडी डिफेंड आवर
सेतले मते पचा जाइतिला किंतु मु सेते इंक्वायरी बाहर नतला रिपोर्ट सेटा केना डिफेंस रो रिपोर्ट सेते हमें कमेंट दबाटा उचित न होली किंतु मु आपण कहितिली कि जो रिपोर्टर्स को कहितिली 100% मु जानि छी 100% किंतु मु 99% कहितिली एना टेक्निकली करेक्ट रहबो जे एटा विजिबिलिटी इशू चीफ ऑफ स्टाफ को ऑन टाइम पहुंचे पे कि जबरदस्ती से फ्लाइट टाକୁ କଲେ जोटा कि इलीगल फ्लाइट सेटा हवा कथा नथिला सेया ही रिपोर्ट बाहरला एठी भी मु जा अजम्पशन नउची जो बिजनेस प्रेशर एयरलाइन प्रेशर ऑन टाइम परफॉर्मेंस प्रेशर यही सब जिनस जो आम मैंने सदा पछरे लागी रोचे अरे एयरलाइन रे देखो सदा लेट रोचे लेट कौन पे रोचे आम टेक्निकली आम कहीं जानूने पैसेंजर हिसाब से लेट ये पारे वेदर खराब अच्छी डेस्टिनेशन आप टेकअप करवा कथा नुह आप कले कहीं कहीं आप कंपनी रेपुटेशन खराब हो टूरिस्ट मैंने पहुंचे से टूरिस्ट आसवे आप बिजनेस खराब हो जाए ये जो एस्पेक्टा बेसी एक्चुअली फ्लाइंग रे ओनली एंड ओनली गोटे कथा आमको शिखा जाए पायलट हिसाब से सेफ्टी आपण पैसा बिजनेस आपण काम नुह पायलट हिसाब से आपण काम होची ओनली एंड ओनली सेफ्टी सेफली आम पैसेंजर्स को गेस्ट मान केमती पहुंचे पुणी वापस घर पहुंचे आम काम आउ कि नुह किंतु यही सब एडेड प्रेशर जो पशि जाए तो यही सब डिसीजन को किसी भूल हवा आरंभ हो जाए तो मुझे भावुँ आम अपेक्षा कर जिते लोक बंची जातु
सर आ गोटे कथा आपण भरी गोटे गुरुत्वपूर्ण प्रसंगटी उठाइले जेतेबेले प्लेन टी लैंड करे तार विजिबिलिटी केते रहिले गोटे प्लेन टी बा ठीक ठाक लैंड करि परिबो बोली ठीक हम दर्शक बंधु मान
नहीं तार सब कैटेगरी अछि जेमि मु ट्रेन अछि जीरो विजिबिलिटी रे लैंड कर परबी मु 50 मीटर्स मात्र माने 50 मीटर्स जाएंगे मु लैंड कर परबी मु टेक्निकली ट्रेन्ड अछि मु हाईली स्किल पायलट रे जाउछि किछ पायलट्स अछन जो माने एक्सपीरियंस से माने फुल्ली माने ट्रेन न थांदी कि ताको कंपनी से फैसिलिटी न थाए किंतु ए खाली आमे ट्रेन दे ले जीवनी जो एयरपोर्ट रे भी से फैसिलिटी थिबा दरकार से वाला इंस्ट्रूमेंट थिबा दरकार माने माने कम विजिबिलिटी लैंड करिया को किंतु ए एयरपोर्ट रे से फैसिलिटी नाही एयरपोर्ट रे नॉन प्रिसिजन माने प्रिसिजन लैंडिंग नाही माने आपनकर विजिबिलिटी बहुत भलो होबा दरकार माने मिनिमम ताकर गोटे टेक्निकल फिगर जो होची 3600 मीटर रो विजिबिलिटी मिनिमम दरकार हो
सर आ गोटे शेष प्रश्न आपन को रहइबो
सेटा तो मते एपर तथ्य मिलिनी मते तथ्य जेते मिलिबो धीरे धीरे मु टेक्निकली आउरी भलरे एक्सप्लेन करी
सर आ गोटे शेष प्रश्न रहइबो आपन दर पूजन वरिष्ठ पायलट अनेक विमान आपण मध्य उड़ाई अनेक लोक को सुरक्षित भाव आपण ताको गंतव्य स्थल मध्य पहुंचाई ये जो विमान बंदर पोखरा जो विमान बंदर आप देखि एक्चुअली यार कौन पाई गोटे इंसिडेंट है आप जो गोटा कथा कहते फग ना टिके पहाड़िया एरिया रोचे जहाँफल लैंड करने टिके प्रोब्लेम है ना आप तो भलसे देखि जो नेपाल जो पोखरा जो विमान बंदर टी
अच्छे माने से माने बने ठीक रनवे लेंथ मु जेतिकी देखी रनवे रो जेतिकी लेंथ रहया कथा भलो लेंथ अछि 8400 मीटर्स पाखापाखि फीट माने मीटर्स जाके अछि बहुत भलो विड्थ भी भलो अछि प्रॉब्लम गोटे होछि तांगा पाके प्रिसिजन लैंडिंग दे नाही प्रिसिजन लैंडिंग माने एई वाला जो फॉग थाए आपन को प्राय जो इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स थाए से पाखापाखि आपन को एक्यूरेटली हमें जे से इंस्ट्रूमेंट को फॉलो करी फ्लाइंग करिवु पूरा रनवे ऊपर पहुंचे देबो सेफली माने सेही जो प्रिसिजन लैंडिंग नाही तांगा पाके बहुत बेसिक इक्विपमेंट अछि जो कि मु भावुँ विजिबिलिटी रो भी जो वेदर रिक्वायरमेंट बहुत अधिका जदि सेटा नथिबो आ से माने एई वाले अटेम्प्ट करछन्ती फ्लाइंग ता कि लैंड करिया चेष्टा करिसन्ती ता माने से माने किछटा भूल कैलकुलेशन हेछि कि भूल रिपोर्टिंग हेछि बोली मो एक्सपीरियंस मते सेया कहूछि डेफिनेटली एया ही बाहरी होली मो 100% श्योर मो एक्सपीरियंस जा कहूछि
कैप्टन राउतराय ये थिले कैप्टन मनमथ राउतराय वरिष्ठ पायलट अनेक जगह से उड़ान भरी अनेक लोगों को गंतव्य स्थल पहुंचाई ये जो विमान जो इंसिडेंट है जो विमान टी क्रैश है से टेक्निक तथ्य दौले एवं आप देखिए आज सकाल सकाल जिते खबर सारा मीडिया को आसला कौटी ना कौटी गोटे चर्चार केन्द्रबिंदु पलटिला कहीं विमान टी क्रैश लैंडिंग कला एवं अन्यपटे कहला ए विमान रे 68 जन यात्री थिबा सहित 4 जन क्रू मेंबर थिले एवं अन्यपटे जहाँ कैप्टेन राउतराय गोटे कथा कहते एटा अनेक जिनिस होई थाई पारे जे आपण से जो गोटे मुख्य प्रसंग उठाउथिले जे फग कारण आपण देखुथिबे जेहेतु गोटे जेतेबेले से पोखरा इंटरनेशनल एयरपोर्ट जिते से लैंड करने को जाऊँगी से गोटे फग बा जो कुहुड़ी आस्तरण जो होता पारे एवं अन्यपटे बहुत गुटे टेक्निकल कथा उठाऊले जेहेतु वर्तमान गोटे इनसीडेंट होती जितेबाला तापर वरिष्ठ अधिकारी माने अनुध्यान करेंगे तदंत करेंगे तदंत जितेबाला सर आम कहीपर वास्तव में एबे आमे नहीं जाउछु ओडिशा स्टार्टअप मेला को आसंतु देखिबा सीधा प्रसारण
business which does not involve multiple laws. Ignorance of the law will actually come with a very fat price tag. So a potential startup has to think through not just laws in terms of intellectual property, for example, but laws related to contract, laws related to human resource management, laws relating to commerce. Okay. Now, OHA, then we discussed, must bring the law school's expertise and the startup entrepreneurs together so that that gap, and sometimes an expensive gap, can be bridged. We felt that the law school students and faculties, if they were to come even hang out here, okay, for 1 hour every week or every fortnight, it will be a rich experience for them because they may become startups tomorrow and the startups get a free legal clinic. Okay. In Bangalore, for example, you can hang out in a cafe in the evening and your friend will introduce you to a friend who's teaching or is a student at MS Ramaya Law College or at National Law School, and very informally you can get very powerful and very important advice. Not necessarily, I'm not necessarily saying free advice. And those are very, very important. Typically, startups overlook the importance of governance. And governance cannot be an afterthought. When you build a company, you have to front load your business idea with all aspects of governance. Today's world is a very complex world. And you not only have to be compliant with the law in your state or your country, but you have to be compliant with law internationally. Now I'll come back to one very important thought apart from all this, Rishita, and that is when you guys come and hang out here and do your own good karma, okay, by giving advice, by interacting, by making connections. Because they can't afford, Amar Chand, or they cannot afford Zia Modi, but they can afford you. Okay. And sometimes you are smarter, by the way. But God didn't say that you studied in National Law School to be a lawyer or to join a law firm. For all you know, you will make friends with a biotech company here, and you'll abandon all that and become the next great biotech entrepreneur. Bill Gates, he didn't study computer science. Okay. Bhavish Agarwal had nothing to do with the logistics business, or certainly not the alternate energy or EV business. Ritesh had no idea about the hotel industry. I didn't study computer science. So most of the times, what we do in life and what makes us truly famous is not what we studied. I studied political science in Utkal University. What am I doing in skill development with the government of Odisha? Okay. Or for that matter, founding a company called Mindtree. So sometimes the door to destiny will be opened in very unusual ways. So you might be in National Law School, come do some karma here, good karma here, and you may find your future boyfriend, if not a future business idea. Thank you. You better be here, man.
Yeah, all right. Okay. I think we'll just do a. We have done this side. Let's go this side as well, so to keep the balance. So
And
yes,
women must get 50% of the question.
absolutely, totally.
Good afternoon, sir. Yeah. Sir, I would like to know your perspective on the popular debate of bootstrap startup versus the funded startup. In the current game of the unicorns, the government is promoting. So how do you see this? Because money being a key thing for somebody starting, and especially we are not backed by rich parents. So how do you see that?
I don't know about rich parents. I didn't have rich parents, but I didn't understand your question also. Can you just make it very simple?
My straightforward question is, currently it is this quarter, Zerodha has registered a profit of 2000 crores versus there are companies who are going IPO making losses. Okay, so as a business, I have read in your books that it's all about money and entrepreneurs should be profit seeking. So having who should be our role models going forwards?
I think you have to be your own role model. You have to be your own role model, yeah, that's what it is. You talked about being bootstrapped versus being funded. That was a key part of your question. So back to the first discussion about definition of a startup. You should be, for as long as you can and as much as you can, you should be bootstrapped. Future investors will always value if you're bootstrapped. But they want to know, do you have skin in the game, or are you just eyeing my money? However, you need to know that point where you will be perceived as valuable to somebody else, because that is where you'll actually get the capital to become big. Now, I must give you my personal example. So, my first startup was a failure. My first startup was at the age of 28. I co-founded a company called Project 21 with two older friends, and I'm talking about 1985. And between the two of them, they brought in 20,000 rupees, 1985, whatever that value is. And it was agreed that I will put in sweat capital. In 1985, banks would not give loan to the word tech company didn't exist. So, computer company. People didn't know the difference between a hardware and a software. The company closed down after 3 years because of lack of working capital. It had business. Okay. But you can't run a company purely on raising the invoice, getting the money, taking care of your expenses, setting aside money for future growth. So working capital was a challenge. The company closed down in 3 years. Now, it is a very valuable lesson for me, because realize that you need a critical mass of capital. But whose capital? So when Mindtree started, it was conceived in 1998, and we actually launched the company in 1999, the 10 co-founders. Before we met the VCs, we first liquidated our Provident Fund money and our gratuity money. My personal money, my personal total savings in life through Provident Fund and gratuity, a little bit of stock option that I had in the company I was serving, amounted to about 56 lakhs. Okay. So between the 10 of us, we produced, maybe about whatever, I don't exactly remember how much was the total money, but we said that we are betting our life savings on the table. Now, here's a business plan, business idea. Would you like to come and invest? When you do that, then the angel investor or the VC takes you more seriously. I find a lot of people who say, I need 5 crores to start a business. Now, in today's world, if you can't con your PC nani, okay, or your mamu or koka po bhai to cough up that money, and if you are not able to pledge some piece of your property to raise that money, it's very difficult that an angel will say you are really worth it. So bootstrap as much as you can. Show that you are putting your blood, sweat and tears in a visible manner. People will take you a lot more seriously. But at that inflection point, you have to decide whether you want to be a boutique organization You want to have total control, or do you want to scale? There's nothing wrong in being a boutique organization. Some of the best companies in the world are tiny, cute companies. Not everybody needs to scale. But if you need to scale, you can't bootstrap and hang in there for too long as well. Because if you don't bring in capital, you won't be able to first of all attract good talent. Secondly, you won't be able to invest money in acquiring customers. So you need to actually be very careful about the timing so that you have a vertical takeoff, right? Think of yourself as an aircraft. At some point in time you have to do a vertical takeoff. So bootstrapping is good. If you think that control is important and scale is not important, bootstrapping with your money as much as you can is critical. Okay, don't expect somebody else to. Your people are not here to blow their money on you. Nobody comes with a guarantee, micro-coded or bar-coded here, saying that you are going to succeed. So it's a show of confidence to say that I have liquidated all my money. I have actually, here is my life's kitty as savings, and this point of no return for me. It makes sense? Don't compare yourselves with people who have gone IPO and stuff like that, because that comparison will not help. So back to your question, you have to be your own role model.
Thank you. Well, before we take the next question, I would just like to say, this is asked Subrata Bagchi, but এটা পচারন্তু শ্রী বাগচি জি को और पूछिए श्री बागची जी को भी हो सकता है. So you can ask your questions in any language. समझी किसी restriction नहीं. ओडिया रे भी पचारी परिवे, हिंदी रे भी पचारी परिवे, English रे भी. Yes, the girl, please.
Good afternoon, sir. I'm Anjali Mahapatra, currently pursuing my MBA in Birla Global University. Sir, I want to ask that in previous session, the Honorable Minister has mentioned that the universities are more focused on placements. They are more placement oriented. But what can the universities can do so that they can facilitate more startups, so that they can encourage more students to go for startups?
So it's a good question actually. It's a very good question. But I must tell you that, Sid, I think startups must facilitate startups. Okay? Universities can make it a nice ecosystem, a breeding ground, but it's not like universities alone will be able to create startups. One of the things that I believe the time has come in Odisha, despite what I just said, the time has come in Odisha where we now see a very rich and humming ecosystem of good academic institutions with strong research capability. Like your institution is here. We are a stone's throw from both KIT with its TBIT and Utkal University. We are proximate to the IIT, we are proximate to R.N.I Medical Science, we are proximate to NISER, we are proximate to XIM, we are proximate to so many different institutions. What was missing was an anchor which will actually pull all of them together, and that's where OHUB got created. And one of the things that we expect OHUB to do is to make this a staging ground, make this a place where all these educational institutions will come and interact with each other. In the process, there will be an interaction between students of these different institutions. There will be interaction between the students and teachers, students, teachers, and the startup entrepreneurs here. That kind of possibility actually creates lot of interesting new ground, and hopefully in the future we'll have the kind of power that IIT Chennai has been able to, IIT Madras has been able to generate, where it has become really a very rich ecosystem for startup companies. The Indian Institute of Science is becoming a place where different startups can come and do their experimentation, new startup ideas can come. So I see that possibility actually building up in Odisha. Back to your question, I think the educational institutions will do a great thing if teachers begin to take interest in OHAB and students begin to take interest in OHAB. And the educational institutions should actually invite in the startup entrepreneurs here to come and interact with the students, to examine collaboratively what kind of thing can be done. Make their resources available to the startup entrepreneurs. And I see that possibility clearly happening. I think we have been able to actually set the ball rolling on that one.
All right. Okay. I think we'll go with, since one of the, please, any other mic there? Yes. We'll take all the questions. Try to take all the questions.
As ma'am asked now, so I want to ask a question in Odia, with your permission.
Odisha re thia chumti Odia कहले permission मांगे चमती कौन थी?
आजकल समस्ते आइडिया ऊपर बेसी फोकस करछन्ती rather than execution. तो केमिति मते execution सिखे अछि सर आपन तो mentorship मिली परिबो ते आपन के टाइम
mentoring is a very serious thing. हमें mentor शब्दटा को बहुत lightly नो, it is not to be taken lightly. ऊपर ठाउरी आए कि कौन सी के mentoring करी पारंती नहीं. Unfortunately, dita jinso. One is I don't have the time. Secondly, I am part of the government. Okay? I have a full-time work in the government, and being a part of the government, I can't have conflict of interest. So I cannot have a relationship with one organization and not with the other organization. But it's a probity issue. Questions can be asked on that. So that is the reason that I will not be able to spend one-on-one time. And also it's very intense. It is सहज no jinso. Mentorship gote mane apna dekhuntu ame to Odisha re achu to it has janakotu sculpture sikhila bale jinso ba janakotu painting sikhila bale jinso ba janakotu music sikhila bale jinso. It's very intense.
Okay. अच्छा गुड एबे टिके बैलेंस हमें एपडू टिके एपडू भी शिफ्ट करिवा
अच्छा सुनो मेंटर ऊपर उठाया आपको छोटो I'll tell you a story. Mentor शब्दटा असला कोटू. So there was a Greek Greek king who was going on a long war, and those are the days that you didn't know if a king went to war, it could take years, it could take decades. And the king had a young prince, was small and the only child. So he prayed, and a goddess actually came as a half human being, half god avatar, as a mentor. That word mentor actually is a Greek word, it came from there, to take care of the young prince until either the king returns or this prince becomes king. Because the idea is that a prince, is a startup. Prince is a startup, right? Not yet risen to the promise, the potential, and it's very valuable. So it requires nothing short of a half god to be able to protect, and the protecting has to happen over a long period of time, over an uncertain period of time. So हमें बहुत अति माने हल्का फुल्का भाବରେ mentoring word टाକୁ know office रे भी so every manager is expected to be a mentor. It is very, very difficult to be a good mentor. It takes a long time and it's very intense.
Yes sir. से हमें से पुडू गुटे जण को दवा सीटी दे दियो.
Good morning, sir.
ଆପଣ ଟିକେ ଏପଟକୁ ପଳେଇ ଆସନ୍ତୁ ଆମେ ଦେଖି ତ ପାରିବା କି ଲାଇଟ୍ yes ଲାଇଟ୍ ପଛରେ ରହି ଯାଉଛନ୍ତି why don't you just come a little
So, good morning, sir. Sir, I am Purvi Paramita Behera from CPET. Sir, my question is, if pandemic like this happen again, then what steps should be taken by the students related to their career?
मास्क पिंधिबे सोशल डिस्टेंसिंग मेंटेन करिवे बारंबार हाथ धोइबे निजे वैक्सीन नेबे पाको पड़िसा को वैक्सीन दियाइबे
Sir, career related.
ऑनलाइन पाठ पढ़िबे मन देई पाठ पढ़िबे yeah that's what it is.
No, sir. Sir, like.
I like your persistence. I love it. Push back.
Yes, sir. Sir, related to like अभी जैसे कि हम लोग फाइनल ईयर स्टूडेंट है, so अगर ऐसा कुछ होता है इन फ्यूचर के ऐसा कुछ पैंडेमिक आते हैं, तो हम लोग क्या स्टेप्स है लाइक रिलेटेड टू स्टार्टअप्स और रिलेटेड टू जॉब?
Related to
स्टार्टअप्स और जॉब मतलब कि कौन सा लाइन चूज करने से ज्यादा सही रहेगा या फिर क्या करे?
आपको क्या लगता है?
सर
आपको दिल से क्या लगता है?
सर अगर ऐसे मैं बताऊं तो आई थिंक स्टार्टअप इज अ गुड ऑप्शन क्योंकि वो हमको ज़्यादा सबसे पहली बात ये तो हम लोग अगर जो भी परेशानी होता है उसी को ही हम लोग रिसॉल्व करके अपना एक आइडिया इन्वेंट करते हैं जिससे को हम लोग एक स्टार्टअप का नाम देते हैं और फिर स्टार्टअप बना मतलब स्टार्टअप
आपको तो यहाँ बैठना चाहिए you are so good you asked a very important question and you gave the answer yourself. So here's my take. Difficult times are the best times to start a startup. Okay. So more difficult the time, better it is to start a startup for a very simple reason. Everybody wants to do something new when the rainbow is appearing on the sky, butterflies are flying, flowers are dancing in the air. Okay, if everything is so nice, then there'll be hundreds of people wanting to do it. But when life looks bleak, it looks like a desert. Okay, and everywhere you find silence, difficult silence. Very few people will say this is a good time to start. So you eliminate competition to begin with. Very few people, and the VC is also sitting on money. And he or she is answerable to their funds. Banks are sitting on money. Customers need providers. And suddenly there is a barrenness. And there you are standing. Okay? So if you can be a green shoot in a parched land, that's a sure sign of success. So more difficult the situation, you must say that this is the right season for starting something new, not just for a business startup, but in life. Okay, thank you very much. Great question.
All right. So, we'll take one more question from this side and then we'll again go to that side. So they'll take it.
By the way, each person who's asked a question, please gift a book.
So the books come for everyone. Wonderful.
Good afternoon, sir. With your unparalleled leadership and innovative thinking, you have seen a remarkable success during your entrepreneurship journey. I'd like to know from your own words that, if you could please share any notable mistake or failure that you have faced during your business journey, and how you overcame that.
Well, I think the most important failure was in diluting so much. Okay. Diluting equity, and I must tell people that don't dilute equity. Try and when you negotiate with a venture capitalist, you negotiate with your employees. Don't throw equity. So when Mindtree was started, we set aside 16.67% of the equity of the company for employee stock option right in the beginning. 16.67%. So until Mindtree was bought over by L&T, that 16.67% would have roughly been equal to probably about at least about $500 million. Now, amazingly, very few people use that money to build anything significant. When Mindtree went public, most people went and bought expensive watches, went off to Singapore for a holiday, sold off their shares. So the question is that 16.67% could have been 8%. The amount of loyalty that we got from good people would have still been the same. So that 8% that was actually thrown away, right? Because we were not valuing the power of our own equity, could have been saved to ring fence ourselves for the future. So similarly, in your eagerness when you negotiate with a venture capitalist, okay, you may over-dilute yourself. So if I had to start life all over again, I would try and hold on to my equity as much as possible. Don't give away equity so easily. I still meet a lot of successful entrepreneurs whose equity has gone down to single digits. In today's world, it will be very difficult for you to protect your business if your equity goes down to single digits. And if it does go down to single digits for whatever reason, you need to get your own exit as soon as possible and build your second company. Use this as capital for your second company, and in that second company, make sure that you don't over-dilute.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. So, हमें एक तो कोई alternate करीबा, कहीं ये पढ़ पचाले गोटे पढ़े कर दवा alternate कर दवा. तो सेठी हाँ, yes. आप ता सामने अच्छा ठीक है चापड़ किया है पचाल. वो ही जरा अच्छा दी पचाल यहाँ पे. Some from the back as well. Yes, we'll go.
Tell your name.
Yes, we'll go to the back benches as well. Don't worry, you won't be ignored.
Good afternoon, sir. I am Sahil from Biju Patnaik Institute of Technology and Management.
By the way, don't call me sir. In the startup world, you must be comfortable calling me first name. Okay, call me Subrata. Try it.
So half of the people have already started nodding their head here.
Sir, my question is, sir.
You lost the mic?
So,
Mic, can we have another replacement, please? How would a mic management?
So startups must have soft arrogance. Okay. And startups must be people who have a little bit of irreverence in them. Tikke jodi irreverence noroila, or tikke jodi soft arrogance noroila, then you can't be a startup, right? And in Bangalore, for example, nobody will call me sir or Mr. Bakshi or whatever it is. That's why Bangalore is what it is. So I think we need to actually have less respect for authority and less awe for people who we think are in positions of power. And anyway, startups are very precious. So you have already earned your colors by putting your stake on the ground. You don't have to be, unnecessarily reverential. So with that, call me Subrata. Yeah. Yeah, good. Saying very, very. Okay, go ahead. What's your question?
so my question is, for a young entrepreneur or a businessman, what is more important, ethics or making profit?
Both. And why do you think that it's an either or? If you are not ethical in today's world, you will actually not sustain. We are here to build sustainable businesses. We are here to build sustainable businesses where reputation is capital. There was a time when we used to think that capital is money. But in today's world, more and more, in today's cross-border world, flat world, open world, reputation is capital. You do business with reputation. You settle dues with reputation. I'll tell you a couple of examples. There was an oil slick, an oil container in North Sea actually created a huge oil slick, and it was Shell. And that was like many, many decades ago. Even today, a child growing up in North America, actually hold Shell responsible for it. But few years ago, BP had a similar situation where a ship on the coast of Florida actually discharged crude, and it had significant damage. And there was a huge uproar and cry. People said, isn't the CEO of BP responsible? People said, why are you holding the CEO responsible? And BP is a good company. And sometimes wrong things happen, mistakes happen. Okay? Give them another chance. So one company has not been forgiven. And for another company, people said, accidents happen. So what is the difference? Difference is BP had more reputation capital. So BP was able to overcome that crisis because it had, had built this huge reputation. So when you are ethical, it is not just about being a Mahatma. Your ethicality is building reputation, and someday things may go wrong, will go wrong. You build a company, you are very good and everything else, but then you appoint a very senior person and there's a sexual harassment charge tomorrow. One company will continuously have convulsive headline in newspapers because of that issue, and in another, people will say, this has happened, it's unfortunate, but the company is not entirely responsible. They will come to make sense and to persuade people to give the company another chance. So ethicality is not just about becoming a Mahatma. Ethicality is a process, consistent process through which you build reputational capital. Companies need reputational capital. Another example I'll give you is in 1990s Wipro under the leadership of Azim Premji was trying to negotiate a joint venture, and I was part of the joint venture negotiation team with General Electric. 1990 was the year, and G was at that time one of the top 50 Fortune 500 companies, and Wipro was globally was not a well-known company. G was looking for a joint venture partner in India, and they had spent years looking for zeroing in on who should be that joint venture partner. And Wipro was not the chosen one. There's another company, I'm not going to tell you the name of the company, which was the chosen one. Now, very interestingly, the matter went to Jack Welch, who was the chairman of G at that point in time. And the people who presented the options and asked him to endorse the decision basically said that Wipro doesn't have strong marketing capability. Wipro's salespeople are not aggressive enough. And the other company was known for its aggression. Let their sales and marketing people loose, and they will go and they will snatch a piece of meat from the mouth of the lion. That was their reputation. And when all things were considered, Jack Welch actually settled for Wipro because of Wipro's stellar reputation for integrity. Because G wanted to bring in G medical systems, and the medical systems business is often a very corrupt business because of the nexus between pharmaceutical companies, equipment companies, hospitals, doctors. So G wanted a company that will not compromise the ethicality. And even as Wipro was considered to be less competent from a sales and marketing point of view, because of Azim Premji's own reputation and the reputation of Wipro, that Wipro will never ever bribe anybody. They will lose business but not pay a bribe. The G joint venture came to them, and even today, after decades, that joint venture exists. So, Premji will tell you that it makes business sense to be ethical. So, how much of actual value, economic value got created? because he stood his ground. So ethicality and profits are not either or, as many people think in India. And the time is over. People, and I'm very glad that today's generation is raising these kinds of questions. If you want to build a memorable company, you have to pay your taxes right. And ethicality begins by paying your taxes right. Thank you. Great question.
Okay, we'll go to one of the backbenchers now. Yeah, and from this side, he's already standing.
First of all, I would like to thank Startup Odisha for giving me this opportunity. Sir, my question would be, first I have two questions.
So, but you haven't introduced yourself.
My name is Subhendra. I am from Thailand pursuing my BTech in branch CSAIM. Sir, my first question would be, what are the three things you like to do if you start the entire journey in 2023? And my second question would be, in the startup, if there are situations like things are getting out of hands, so what would be the tips to the fellow before taking the decisions? Either like there are some stages, either you have to put your money or shut down the shop. So what would be the tips?
So you choose between the two questions. You can only ask one question. And that question must have 8 words or less.
Sir,
Twitter world, what does Twitter teach us? To paraphrase.
Okay. Sir, second one.
So what is the question in 8 words or less? Sir,
what is your tips to the fellow? Either you have to put money or that. Sir, एमिति हमर केबे सिचुएशन आसे स्टार्टअप रे जे तमको किछि सब्जेक्ट का एंटर एप्लाय आपण कहले एंटर सेविंग आपण को सेट दबा पड़िबो न हले सबटा सब क्लोज करिया पड़िबो तो आपण को कोन टिप्स रहबो से लोकटा पई जैसे को डिसीजन नबो तो
गोटे बही लिखि छी कॉल्ड द हाई परफॉर्मेंस एंटरप्रेन्योर Amazon रे मिलु छी ताको किनी के पढंतु That's a capitalist in me, I'm sorry. But you will get that book free anyways.
Airport side में पूरा last पे जाने हाथ उठी छोटी पूरा एकदम last. Yes, we'll go to the.
Hello Shubhra ji. My name is.
Cut that G, huh? That's for politicians. So what should you call me?
Pardon sir?
What should you call me?
Shubhra.
Good. You have to shed the old habits like the monkey shed its tail so that the monkey became a man. So language ko katte padiyo. A G sir emti कहले किछि हबनी. Valuation and that will not go together. Bangalore जदि जिवे को venture capitalist को angel को sir G emti कहबे ताले से आ मो को नेबनी. So I have to have that confidence. कौन तो इतना?
Like we have recently got a funding from US based venture capitalist.
You have?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Congratulations.
So you haven't introduced yourself.
Yeah, I'm Siddharth Kumar and my startup is incubated in Central University and we recently got a funding from VCs before within 6 months, before 6 months. The thing is that our mindset is different and what they are telling to do right now to us it's totally different. They have given the fund to us, but they are telling to go तुम लोग ऐसे जाओ मतलब ये रास्ता नहीं रहेगा what to choose can we choose their experience early in this field, so we don't have any experience to to gain compete in the market.
Okay, he's lost the. So basically, whether they should follow their heart or follow the advice of.
Well, how did you actually take somebody's money without sorting out these issues beforehand? These are issues that you need to sort out beforehand. First and foremost, I don't know what the terms are, so I can't give you a business advice here. That will not be fair without me knowing in depth. But when you choose an investor, look at compatibility very carefully. Okay? in life, when you make a choice, you also choose the consequences. Choice of who you are taking your money from is going to haunt you for next few decades. So just because somebody is offering you money and you jump in, then you will be processing these kinds of questions later.
So it's
Hear me out. Second is, be very careful of the color of money. Okay. Money has many colors. So sometimes a certain color is easy to get, and then if you pick up that money of that certain color, it will again come back to you with consequences. How you will deal with your investor depends on many things. Number one, it depends on how mature is that investor, okay? Or did you fall in love in the first date and you made a commitment to marry on your first date? Then you will be in deep trouble, okay? So what due diligence you made, what due diligence they made, and what kind of values that you actually probed when you were doing the deal, okay? What kind of commitment you made to them, what kind of exit on which both of you pre-agreed, all those factors will come in. But however much due diligence you do, building a startup, taking it to the next level is a matter of time. You know, it sometimes can take 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. So in that period, there is bound to be pressure. Okay? Whoever has given you real money will demand accountability. But does that pressure mean that you will give up all the things that you stood for, all the things that were core to your own belief system? The answer is no. But sometimes you can't take a adversarial relationship, adversarial stand with your investor. So you need to deeply listen to them and understand where they are coming from, and they have to listen. And if there is going to be a divergence, then one of the two of you will have to get out. Then it's a different set of negotiation. But what I'm trying to tell you is you must choose your investors carefully, and you must choose the color of money very carefully. Know that every choice comes with consequences.
Right? So, बहुत प्रश्न अच्छी है और ये बहुत जन मत खाली हंसी हंसी देखु जो
How are we doing on time?
So we are right now at, it's 1 o'clock, 1:08 exactly.
And we're going on till what time, Dr. I?
1:30 जाके अच्छी सर समय. अच्छा हमें स्टूडेंट्स मानो को टिके प्रेफरेंस आगे दो
मैम
यंग
स्टूडेंट को
स्टूडेंट
देखो बहुत रिक्वेस्ट करिए प्लीज ओपनली कर क्या पड़े.
अच्छा
from last one year following Subrosa to meet.
हाँ पचार दियो.
I need the last 10 minutes so I can leave behind a few thoughts.
Sure.
Hello. जय जगन्नाथ. सुब्रत प्राक्तन एवं वर्ष सुब्रत. तो सर कई बार तो होची मैं आपन को वर्ष होला फॉलो करथली फिजिकल केम देखा करी बोली. Actually I am a founder of ODIODI Academy. I am teaching students communication skill basically in rural areas. इंग्लिश मीडियम स्टूडेंट इंग्लिश मीडियम स्कूल में पढ़ाई पाई लोक बहुत पैसा खर्च करछंदी बट गोटे गरीब पिला को विद इन 1 ईयर मु तको इंग्लिश कहि पारु छै एवं गोटे इंग्लिश मीडियम स्टूडेंट सहित कैपेबल करू छी मोर विजन. इट इज माय सेकंड स्टार्टअप. पैंडेमिक पूर्व ट्रैवल सेक्टर में काम करथली और पैंडेमिक.
What's your question?
My question is sir, two questions. Question is
one question, please. 8 words or less.
Okay. Is Subrat Baksh accessible to rural talents?
Is Subrat Baksh is what?
Accessible to rural talents. कहीं की जगह पे कोई कहानी
है. Is Subrat Baksh accessible to rural talents?
Very difficult question to answer actually. What do you mean by that?
Sir, actually जतल मैं ऑर्गेनाइजेशन करी तो मोर गोटे विजन देला रूरल टैलेंट्स मानु को ये प्रकार स्टेज को आनिबा पाई. It is very difficult tax. तो पिला मानु को मु काम करे ऑनलाइन पढ़ाए तापर ब्लॉग लेवल इवेंट करे तापर गोटे
कोर तो कम करे चलो.
तापर सर आपन को कांटेक्ट पाए पे पिलेक्स साइड से तो जोगाजोग करथिले.
So what's the question?
My question is sir, I committed to those आपन को तो एंटरप्रेन्योर जानि छथि बिजनेस जे करू छथि आईटी रे जानि छथि किंतु आपन भी जानि नथिबे ଗାଁ ଗହଳିର ସାଧାରଣ ଲୋକ ବି ଆପଣ ବି ଜାଣିଛନ୍ତି। ତେଣୁ ମୁଁ ଗୋଟେ ପ୍ରମିସ୍ କରିଥିଲି ମୁଁ ସାର୍ଙ୍କୁ ଗୋଟେ ଫ୍ୟୁଚର କଣ୍ଟ୍ରାକ୍ଟ କରିବି ଯୋଉଠି ଗାଁ ଗହଳି ପିଲାମାନଙ୍କୁ ମୁଁ ସୁବ୍ରତ ସାର୍ ଆସି କିଛି କହିବେ ଏବଂ ଯେତେବେଳେ ଗାଁ ଗହଳି ପିଲା ସାର୍ଙ୍କ ସହିତ ସେଣ୍ଟ୍ରୁଟି ବା ଦ୍ୟାଟ୍ ୱିଲ୍ ବି ଗୁଡ୍ ଭିଜନ ଫର ଦେମ୍। ଇଟ୍ ଇଜ ମାଇ ଭିଜନ। ସେଥିପାଇଁ ସାର୍ ଯେତେବେଳେ କାଲି ଜାଣିଲି ଟ୍ୱିଟରରେ ଯେ ସାର୍ ଆପଣ ଆସିଛନ୍ତି ସ୍ପେସିଫିକ୍ ଆପଣ ପାଇଁ ଆସିଥିଲେ କାରଣ ଆପଣଙ୍କୁ ଦେଖା କରିବା ପାଇଁ କେତେ ପିକ୍ ବି ୟୁଜ୍ କରୁଛି।
Thank you so much. Thank you. Bosun. Thank you.
So, ଆମେ ଆଚ୍ଛା ଆମେ ଆଚ୍ଛା ସିଏ ତାଙ୍କୁ ଦେଇ ଦିଅନ୍ତୁ ସେପଟ ଦେବା ତାପରେ ଆମେ ଝିଅ ପାଖକୁ ଆସିବା। ଆମେ we have exactly another 9 minutes to take questions ତାପରେ sir କହିଛନ୍ତି ସିଏ last 10 minutes you would want to share some thoughts. Yes.
I love the change of complete transformation. Very nice.
Sir, I have
Puni sir sorry, you take one step and then you take 3 steps back.
Sorry, it's my fault. I'm Abhijit Rath from VSSUT Borla, and my question is, I have a startup based service based startup, and the issue is that while raising funds, people nowadays are looking for a product based company, and you also made a big company in a service based sector. So while raising funds, what is the mindset of the venture capitalists and what you pitch so that that become a very different
Actually, it's not true that people are looking for product based companies or service based companies. Mu apnu gote katha koi diye je that distinction is an artificial distinction. Companies of the future and companies which are truly valuable, they are a mix of both. So great companies, great product companies have a service wrapper around them, and great service companies must quickly productize. Okay? So it's not an either or kind of a thing. So the question is Cisco a service company or product company? Is Microsoft a product company or a service company? Is Sony a product company or a service company? गोटे समय थिला जे सोनी को लोक केवल टेलीविजन बोली भाबुथिले हैला आजि केबीसी पछरे को कंपनी right? So ejo jinsota it's not correct. There's no such distinction. It's a good idea to continuously think of yourself as a service company that can productize its services, okay? Or if you're a product company, then unless you are bringing in the service element, you'll not be able to do the last mile, and you cannot own the customer, the real customer, the paying customer.
So one moment, just to end it.
I'm sorry. Diksha, ma'am here from National Law School has been waiting to ask a question for a long time.
Yes, thank you.
I would address you as sir for the respect you have earned, and I haven't started a startup yet, and possibly in future. But yeah, the question is what's the vision behind when you talk about skill development? So, and what are your action plans as the chairman of the Skill Development Authority? And where do you see that should be the focal point of skill development? Because should it start from at the school level because NEP is coming in? And or when it comes to educational institutes, we have changed over the time when we are not just teaching theories, but we are teaching more of.
I got it. I got it. So since you talk about NEP, I think NEP is an excellent framework. In my entire life, I have seldom read a government document which is as good as the NEP document, which is written by Dr. Kasturi Rangan. It's a brilliant document. I think it will take us a few decades to implement that, and there isn't a sentence in that document that I don't agree with. So NEP is talking about bridging the gap between the traditional understanding of education and the importance of skills at every level, starting from kindergarten all the way to postdoctoral studies. So it's very, very critical. To your question, however, as to what is my charter, the charter of Odisha Skill Development Authority is to train 1.5 million youth by 2024, of which for basically creating employable skills. So we look at employable skills, and we focus largely on two groups. One group of students who will go to an ITI or a polytechnic. To us, the buck stops there. Skill is a very loose word. It can apply to from, as Dr. Achitu Samanta is fond of saying, KG to PG. But I do not focus on the PG. So the top that I go to is the ITI or polytechnic kid. And of the 1.5 million, 20% of the target group will go to an ITI or a polytechnic. 80% would be 5th, 8th or 10th class fail or drop out, who either for an intellectual reason or economic compulsion will not go back to the education stream. So these are kids who will become a security guard, kids who will become a janitor, kid who will become a sewing machine operator, kid will become a domestic electrician, kid will actually drive an Ola car. Okay, so my universe of skill development is basically for creating employable skills for kids who will not go to higher education, and kids who are not going to actually go to a national law school or go study BSc, BA, BCom or MBA or whatever it is. So there is a lot of talk about upskilling and reskilling in higher education, but that's not part of my charter.
Alright, I mean, the thing question paper se jio jane kainki sir muluru koitile we have to, yes, but more edi ke bandhu bandhu na di crowd re, so mate pore ke ragi veni please. I have not done any partiality.
A very good afternoon, sir. I am Amisha Mohanty from VSS.
Very good afternoon. What?
Yeah. My name is Amisha Mohanty and I am from VSS UT Burla. Basically, my question is, how will change the mindset of the parents? Like, our parents' mindset for opting government services.
Yeah. Big problem.
Yes, sir. That's a very big problem for us. Like, we want to do some startup or something, but they are becoming a barrier for us.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Like, how government will take the initiative?
Who will take the initiative?
So, like, some.
Oh, Saswat sir ko kohili just consider guru. Je, mu sabale kahe. Less you love the government, more the government will love you.
Yeah.
Less you love the government, more the government will love you. So it's not government's job. If you cannot change woe, okay, you can't change the world. Right? Woe is the best customer, and woe hochi ultimate venture capitalist. Woe jodi tara ontiru kadigiri, okay, di paisa dala, that means you can go and pitch to Sequoia Capital. So, woe aur nona, bapa aur ma, kaiki diya chandi. Itme diya chandi ki apon tanka sangre dhokka lagibe. Every generation must fight the previous generation. There must be a constructive push and pull between the two generations. Not easy. ମୁଁ ଯେତେବେଳେ ମୁଁ 1975-76 କଥା କହୁଛି, ଯେତେବେଳେ ପାସ୍ କଲି ଏଠି ବିଜେପି କଲେଜରୁ, ସେତେବେଳେ ମୋ ଏଣ୍ଟାୟାର ବ୍ୟାଚ୍ରେ ଦି ଜଣ ଆମେ we ended up being an entrepreneur. Okay? And ମୁଁ ତ ବାହାରେ ରହିଲି, ମୋ ଆର entrepreneur ସାଙ୍ଗଟି ତାକୁ 35 ବର୍ଷ ପର୍ଯ୍ୟନ୍ତ କେହି ଝିଅ ଦେଲେନି. So biggest problem became to get, at the age of 24, 25, 26, 28, startup, etc. is all very good. But you want a boyfriend, you want a girlfriend. That's very critical, very important. Jio jodi debeni, okay? Tal tabala, life barwade gala. Amar vele kon hotula. Saswat sir ko pari IS jodi gala, tal no problem. No la nahi, Pikachu US dale. बैंक प्रोफेशनल अफसर ले सबु किछि जदि न ही पारला ताले वकील हो गले ता भी हलानी ताले होमियोपैथिक डॉक्टर ले ता भी हलानी ताले ये कि आपण व्यवसाय आरंभ करे और व्यवसाय इज इक्वल टू खराब लोग आ ओडिसा रे टंका कुछि माने इज वेरी वेरी प्रॉब्लमेटिक थिंग तेनो जियो लेबेनी तापरे झियो का को दिया हुए जा आगे गोटे पूरा कैरियर मैप वर्ष को वर्ष इंक्रीमेंट केते आसीबो पेंशन अछि कि नै सो दैट प्रॉब्लम वाज देयर किंतु आज मते लागुनी दैट प्रॉब्लम इज देयर बट जदियो अछि you have to go and fight that stereotype. And if you can actually negotiate with Bapa and Ma, Nonna and Bo, can guarantee to you, you are all set up for success.
So, last question because of the time. So, sir, mu आपन को बाकी sir mu आपन को question है कि
I just want to add something to her. किंतु more seriously. आपण जोटा कहले गोटे बहुत इंपोर्टेंट जिंस आई वांट टू रिफ्लेक्ट ऑन जे सामाजिक स्वीकृति मिलिया दरकार आमर ओडिसा रे जो माने स्टार्टअप करिवे व्यवसाय को लेबे तांको सामाजिक स्वीकृति मिलिया दरकार जोटा ट्रेडिशनली हमें देई ना हूं जोथि पई आज वी आर इन द सिचुएशन वेयर द स्टेट हैज टू स्ट्रगल विद द नंबर ऑफ स्मॉल एंड मीडियम एंटरप्राइजेस सो सामाजिक स्वीकृति ता दबा दरकार ताले नुआ युवपीढ़ी से माने कहिबे जे as a startup I'll get the same respect as a probationary government official or a bank official or whoever तो सेति के समाज रो भी आवश्यकता रही छी समाज को स्वीकृति दक पड़ियो धरो तो गोटे सिंपल जिंस why is Karnataka what it is the number of Padma awards that Karnataka's business people have got is significant. That's not the case in our state yet, and I hope in the years to come that will change. So if you look at Azim Premji, he's a Padma awardee. If you look at Nandan Nilekani, Chris Gopal Krishnan, Narayan Murthy, they are Padma awardees. Kiran Majumdar Shaw is a Padma awardee. There are dozens and dozens of people that the Karnataka government has pushed forward. It's not a bad thing to be in business and to be actually seen as a legitimate claimant to a national honor which the state thinks it must make its way for. And then in Karnataka, for example, there is the Karnataka Rajyotsava Award. Every year business people get it. It gives a very strong signal that business people are also agents of change and they are people who are helping to build a nation. So से जो स्वीकृतिटा सेटा समय निश्चय आसुची आसीबो जे जोथरे हमर ओडिया पोजियो मन मते से स्वीकृतिटा पाइबे and then it will be a very different story.
Last question about the mo आपन को कोची आपन को पचारुची आपन बाछि देबे प्लीज किए लास्ट आपको
Actually I think
the answer. That's my question to you. Can you please choose the last question from the number of Munawa ke chawni list.
Okay, so no, I don't want to be unpopular. You'll be unpopular.
No, not fair. So I want to at least calling you the student को दबा ना वो जो अच्छा से बोलो जाने भारी अस्मिता सर आपण एम्प्टी सेशन रखिबे घंटाटे रहले सर हबनी इट हैज टू बी आई मीन गोटे दिन डेडिकेट करिया को पड़िबो फॉर सेशन
मो तो फाइनली घंटाटे आपण माने करबे
randomly sir please help करंतो मते भी ठीक साहाय्य करंतो too many hands
okay so we go to the last row last and there okay very last row yeah go ahead so I'll tell you what I will give up my time and that's fine I don't want to disappoint people so we'll keep continuing till 1:30 and we'll on
okay we'll take a couple of more questions sure
good afternoon sir first
good afternoon God
good sir
sir no sir
good afternoon Subrata first of all my question is all about how you deal with the people which don't value your work while you are working and you are facing a lot of problem back to back and how to deal with the world out of thinking your work itself and also dealing with the people.
Very nice question. So आपण निज जीवन को गोटे छुरी बोली भाबंतु ओके छुरीटा को जदि आमे शाणित करिया चेष्टा करिबा, we want to sharpen the knife. You can't do it against butter. Okay, you have to do it against a rock. So, when you are surrounded by people who are not valuing you, you are actually seeing a rock, right? And if you can rub yourself against these people, sometimes it hurts, but eventually you will come out sharper. It's not the job of the world to value you. It is your job to present yourself as valuable. For that, first and foremost, you have to deep inside of you believe that you are somebody valuable. But always keep in mind, since we are talking about startups here, when do you become truly valuable? You become truly valuable when you are